All right, we are going to talk now about all six trig functions. We're used to the trio that we're used to that we always worked with before. We had sine, we had cosine, and we had tangent, and we're comfortable with that. But then now we're going to actually learn about the reciprocals. Now the first one is going to be cosecant. That's the reciprocal of sine, so that's going to be equal to 1 over sine. Now the way you actually write cosecant is this, it's cosecant. Okay, and that means that sine equals to 1 over cosecant, and it also means that cosecant equals to 1 over sine. They are literally the flip of each other. The next one, tangent. We're accustomed to tangent, but now we're going to learn about cotangent. Okay, so cotangent is actually spelled cotangent. And this means that tangent is equal to 1 over cotangent as well as cotangent equals to 1 over tangent. They're going to be the flip of each other as well. And last but not least, secant is equal to 1 over cosine. So if I got secant here, that means that cosine equals to 1 over secant, and secant is going to be equal to 1 over cosine. That's how all three of these work. They're just the reciprocal or the flips of them. Now, the main thing to do is you got to recognize what's connected to what. I created a small sentence. You can create something more creative or simpler. I couldn't see the sine. I put couldn't see the sine because I know cosecant is related to sine. Because the tan colored coat, tan coat, tangent and cotangent are going to be related. Wouldn't allow me to see close. Well, see close means secant and cos. So I kind of created this little sentence to kind of help me remember, but you can use another method. Maybe you can use something creative right now and draw a little picture, create a better sentence to help you connect it. But you're expected to memorize these, and you will through practice, but if you could come up with a method to do it faster, that's even better. Okay? Now, let's take a quick look at the next section so we can just see a little bit of it in practice. Okay? Now, I noticed that we're working with 30, 60, and 45, so we got to have the special triangles which we memorized, right, from our last lesson. So I'm going to draw my triangle for my 30, 60, 90. I know I have my 30 here, my 60 here, my 90 here. I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, and I know this got to be square root of 3 because the hypotenuse is always biggest. Then I'm going to have my 45, 45, 90. And I'm going to have 1, 1, radical 2. Now, if I want the sine of 30, well, I know that's so. So I'm going to go with the opposite of the sine, which is 1, over my hypotenuse, which is 2. Now, check this out now. If I want the cosecant is just the flip of sine. So cosecant of 30 is just going to be 2 over 1, which is just 2. What about the cosine of 30? Well, that's cos. I'm looking for A over H. My adjacent of 30 is square root of 3. My hypotenuse is 2. That's all it is. So what about the secant, right? I'm going to scroll down. My secant is going to be the flip of that, which is 2 over radical 3. But do we leave our final answers in this format? You're right. We got to rationalize that denominator. I'm multiplying by radical 3 on the bottom. I'm multiplying by radical 3 on the top. And I'm going to get 2 radical 3. And then on the bottom, radical 3 times radical 3 gives us 3. And that's it. Let's do one last one. Tangent of 30. Well, tangent is going to be what? Opposite over adjacent, so that's going to be 1 over radical 3. So I'm going to get 1 over radical 3. Opposite over adjacent. So once I get my 1 over radical 3, which is opposite over adjacent, I realize that, wait, I need to rationalize this denominator. I'm going to multiply by radical 3 on the bottom here and the top here. And I know I'm going to get radical 3 up top. And radical 3 times radical 3 is radical 9, which gives me 3. Then on the bottom, cotangent 3 is going to be the flip. Instead of flipping the final answer, I'm going to flip the original to keep it simple. Square root of 3 over 1 equals to just square root of 3. Now that's how your reciprocal functions work. So go ahead now, use your special triangles and complete the next 2 columns of the chart.